Some flowers ask to be admired, but jasmine asks to be experienced. Jasmine's fragrance drifts through warm evening air long before the blossoms themselves come into view, announcing its presence with a sweetness that feels almost otherworldly. For thousands of years, poets, healers, perfumers, and lovers have been captivated by this remarkable flower. Tonight, we're exploring the history, folklore, symbolism, and enduring magic of jasmine, a plant associated with devotion, beauty, sensuality, and the quiet mysteries that bloom after sunset. Welcome to the Green Room Apothecary, a place where plants are more than remedies or medicine. They're remembered wisdom, part of our collective living history. Step into the garden with me to explore the history, folklore, and science behind the herbs that have shaped human healing for centuries. Whether you're here to learn something new, to unwind, or to gently drift off to sleep, I'm so happy that you're here with me. I'm your host, Nimue, and this is where ancient wisdom meets modern life. Before we wander along the path, I'd love to know where you're listening from tonight and what time it is. I love imagining this space connecting us through different spaces and times. And if you've experienced jasmine and would like to share, I would love to hear about it. Now, let's take a moment to arrive. Wherever you are right now, let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw soften, and let your tongue fall away from the roof of your mouth. Let the noise of the day, the emails, the errands, the rushing, just slip away, like water rolling off a waxy leaf. You don't have to hold it all right now. There's nowhere else you need to be. You are here and you are safe. If you haven't already, I invite you to gently close your eyes or simply soften your gaze. Now, take a slow, deep breath in with me and let it out with a soft sigh. Let's go for a walk together. Imagine it is just past twilight. The sky is a deep, bruised violet, heavily dusted with the first silver stars. The air is warm, thick with the kind of velvety stillness that only comes at night. We're stepping into a walled, secret garden. The ancient stones beneath our bare feet are still holding the heat of the afternoon sun. Can you feel that gentle warmth rising up, wrapping around your ankles like a heavy, comforting blanket? As we walk, a scent catches on the breeze. It's faint at first, a sweet, intoxicating whisper that pulls you further down the shadowy path. You follow it, letting the fragrance guide you through the dark. And then, there it is, cascading over an old, wrought iron trellis, like a waterfall of tiny star-shaped blossoms. Jasmine. In the moonlight, the flowers are glowing, almost pearlescent against the dark, creeping vines. Reach out and touch one. The delicate white petals feel like cool silk against your fingertips. But we aren't just here for the blooms. Take one of the small dark green leaves. Roll it gently between your thumb and forefinger. Feel the slight waxy texture yield, releasing a green, earthy, almost grounding undertone beneath the heavy floral sweetness. Bring your hand to your face and breathe it in, deeply. Let that rich, heady perfume fill your lungs, travel down into your chest, and settle right at your very center. There is so much more to this beautiful night bloomer than its lovely scent. Jasmine holds secrets in her starry petals, secrets that have traveled across empires and oceans for centuries. Tonight, we'll uncover how this delicate flower became a cornerstone of ancient perfumery and a sacred offering to the gods of the East. We'll also explore the fascinating science of how simply inhaling its aroma can physically act on our nervous system, calming the anxious mind almost as effectively as modern sedatives, but with a gentle botanical touch. So, keep your eyes closed if you'd like. Let my voice be your guide in the dark, and let's unravel the mysteries of the Queen of the Night, beautiful, intoxicating Jasmine. Imagine stepping out into a garden just as the sun dips below the horizon. The air is thick, warm, and painted in shades of twilight blue and velvet purple. Suddenly, you are met with a scent so intoxicating, so heavy and sweet. It feels almost like a physical embrace. This is jasmine, belonging to the Oleaceae or olive family. Jasminium is a genus of delicate vines and shrubs adorned with fragile, star-shaped flowers. They appear in shades of milky white and soft, buttery yellow, tiny beacons of light glowing in the dusk. To understand jasmine, we must first uncover her name, like unearthing a beautifully kept secret. The word traces its roots back through the centuries to the ancient Persian word yasmin. Spoken aloud, it feels like a soft exhale, Yasmin, which translates simply and perfectly to gift from God or fragrant flower. The mythology surrounding this plant is as rich and romantic as its perfume. We can look to ancient Indian mythology, where legends are still whispered around the fire about Kama, the Hindu god of love. It is said that Kama carried a bow made of sugar cane, and his arrows were tipped with 5 sacred, intoxicating flowers, one of which was jasmine. When a jasmine-tipped arrow pierced a heart, it brought forth an overwhelming, all-consuming devotion. It wasn't just physical attraction. It was a deep, soulful yearning, the kind of love that alters the very course of your life. Historically, jasmine has been cherished by empires and stolen by lovers. In ancient Egypt, around 1000 BC, pharaohs like Ramses II were said to use its precious oils to perfume their royal baths and anoint their bodies. Centuries later, during the Song dynasty in 11th century China, emperors adorned their palace walls with cascading jasmine vines, believing the scent could purify the air and elevate the spirit to the heavens. By the 13th century, Moorish kings had brought the vines to Spain, cultivating them in the breathtaking, water-filled gardens of the Alhambra. But perhaps the most enchanting historical oddity belongs to Italy in the late 1600s. The Grand Duke of Tuscany, Cosimo III de' Medici, possessed a rare and breathtaking variety of jasmine, and he forbade anyone from taking a cutting of it. He wanted the beauty entirely for himself. But love, as always, finds a way. The Duke's gardener, smitten with a beautiful peasant girl, snipped a single, fragile sprig to give to his bride on their wedding day. She planted it, it flourished, and from that single stolen branch, it is said that all the jasmine in Italy was born. Because of this deeply ingrained history of romance, witchcraft and folk magic have long claimed jasmine for their own. In the quiet world of folk magic and green witchcraft, jasmine is treated with profound reverence. It's a plant of the moon, used in spellwork to draw spiritual love, to invite prophetic dreams, and to protect the astral traveler. When carefully dried and placed beneath a pillow in a small cotton sachet, it's said to part the veil of the waking mind, guiding the sleeper safely into the realm of visions. It is a guardian of the subconscious, wrapping the dreamer in its protective, fragrant embrace. When we look to the stars to understand jasmine, we find a plant caught in a beautiful celestial dance between the moon and the planet Venus. Astrologically, jasmine is deeply bound to the water sign of Cancer, the zodiac's nocturnal sanctuary, which is ruled entirely by the silver light of the moon. To truly grasp this, we need to first look at the visual symbolism, the ancient hidden language of the Cancer glyph. Imagine the shape. 2 small circles, each with a curving crescent-like tail extending outward and wrapping around the other. It looks like two seeds swirling in a cosmic womb, or two arms intimately holding one another in a protective embrace. This shape represents the crab claws, yes, but it also symbolizes shelter, origin, and the maternal breast. It is the visual embodiment of clinging, of creating a safe harbor in a vast world. Notice how beautifully this mirrors the nature of the jasmine vine itself, reaching, coiling, and wrapping its tender green arms around a trellis, seeking security while offering a breathtaking canopy of shelter. Jasmine is also ruled by Venus. The glyph of Venus is a perfect circle resting atop an equal-armed cross. Visually, this is often interpreted as a hand mirror, reflecting the self, beauty, and vanity. But in a deeper esoteric sense, the circle represents divine spirit, elevated and resting above the cross of material reality. Venus is the planet of profound pleasure, sensuality, and sensory indulgence. She asks us to stop thinking and start feeling. In the body, jasmine acts as a profound relaxant. Its heavy, sweet aroma literally slows the heart rate and dissolves tension, mirroring Venus's desire for physical ease and luxurious comfort. When we look at the tarot, jasmine is uniquely caught between two incredibly powerful archetypes, reflecting its dual rulership. To honor the moon, jasmine aligns with card 2, the High Priestess. To honor Venus, it aligns with card 3, the Empress. Look closely at the classic Rider-Waite-Smith image of the High Priestess. She sits in quiet stillness, draped in flowing blue robes that pool at her feet like water. On either side of her stand two great pillars, one black and one white, representing the balance between opposites, strength and gentleness, mystery and understanding, discipline and compassion. These pillars are known as Boaz and Jashin. In esoteric traditions, they symbolize complementary forces, strength and compassion, structure and mercy, darkness and light. The High Priestess does not choose one over the other. She sits peacefully between them, reminding us that wisdom is often found in holding both at once. Jasmine carries a similar energy. Its delicate white blossoms suggest softness and grace, yet their fragrance is powerful enough to fill an entire garden. Like the High Priestess, jasmine teaches that true influence doesn't always announce itself. It quietly transforms the space around it. Behind her hangs a tapestry adorned with pomegranates and palms, masking the great sea of the unconscious. At her feet rests a shining crescent moon, and in her hands she holds a half-hidden scroll of ancient law. She evokes an energy of stillness, secrecy, and intuition. Jasmine corresponds to her perfectly because it's a flower that blooms in the dark. It holds its secrets during the heat of the sun, only opening its petals to release its intoxicating wisdom when the conscious world has gone to sleep. But then, look to the neighboring card, the Empress. The Empress sits upon plush velvet cushions in a lush terrestrial garden. A crown of 12 stars rests upon her golden hair, and a field of ripe wheat grows at her feet. Beside her, a heart-shaped stone shield is carved with the symbol of Venus. The colors are warm, golds, greens, and soft reds, evoking feelings of abundance, fertility, and unashamed earthly delight. How can jasmine belong to both the quiet mystic and the sensual mother? This is the beautiful, poetic nuance of the plant. Jasmine is the bridge between them. It possesses the ethereal, nocturnal intuition of the High Priestess, yet its scent is so physically grounding, so deeply sensual and heavy, that it pulls us right into the lush, fleshy reality of the Empress. This duality is mirrored in healing traditions across the globe. In traditional Chinese medicine, jasmine, known as mo li hua, is deeply revered. It's considered slightly warm, entering the meridians of the liver, spleen, and stomach to gently move stagnant qi, untangling the knotted energies of stress and frustration. In the ancient practices of Ayurveda in India, jasmine is called jati. It's seen as profoundly cooling to the mind, used to pacify an overheated pitta dosha. When anger or irritability flares, the cooling essence of jasmine oil is applied to the crown of the head, bringing the temperature of the spirit back down to a peaceful simmer. Similarly, in Unani medicine, rooted in ancient Greek and Persian traditions, jasmine is prescribed as a tonic for the nerves. It's given to those suffering from nervous exhaustion, lifting the heavy veil of melancholia and restoring lightness to an overburdened heart. Slowly, as we move from the realms of magic and ancient global wisdom, we begin to cross the bridge into the modern world. We step out of the starlight of folklore and walk softly into the sunlit laboratory of modern science. Here, the poetic spells of the hedge witch are translated into the incredible, microscopic language of chemical compounds and molecular healing. Let's take a moment and gently shift our gaze. We're moving from the winding garden paths and the moonlit balconies of folklore down into the hidden invisible architecture of the flower. Imagine looking through a lens of spun glass, zooming in closer and closer until the velvety white petals dissolve into a constellation of tiny, shimmering molecules. This is where the magic becomes tangible, where ancient whispered wisdom is translated into the language of our modern scientific understanding. It's a beautiful thing to see how the poetry of a plant holds up under the bright light of a microscope. Within the fragrant cells of the jasmine flower, there's a complex, elegant chemistry at play. The most prominent of these tiny magicians is a volatile compound called linalool. You might recognize that name. It's the same sweet floral compound that gives lavender its famously calming embrace. But in jasmine, linalool doesn't work alone. It dances alongside other fragrant molecules, like benzyl acetate with its rich fruity warmth and the deeply floral jasminate. Together, they form a perfect synergistic symphony, a fragrance so complex that perfumers have spent centuries trying to capture its exact essence. Think of these aromatic compounds not as cold data or sterile science, but as tiny, invisible messengers of peace. When you inhale the heavy, sweet scent of jasmine, these messengers travel effortlessly up through the olfactory nerve. They move straight into the limbic system, the oldest, most emotional, and most memory-rich part of our human brain. Here, they don't shout or demand. They just whisper to your nervous system. They say, "It's safe now. The day is done. You can rest." Science has shown us exactly how this gentle whisper works within our bodies. When the volatile oils of jasmine enter our bloodstream through our lungs or our skin, they seek out specific chemical receptors in the brain, specifically the GABA receptors. GABA is the neurotransmitter responsible for inhibiting stress, slowing down racing thoughts and bringing the entire nervous system down from a state of high alert. It's the biological equivalent of a deep, settling sigh. And fascinatingly, modern pharmaceuticals used for anxiety, panic, and sleep, like Valium or other benzodiazepines, target these exact same GABA receptors. They bind to the nerve cells to chemically enforce a state of calm. But jasmine, sweet, moonlit jasmine, doesn't force. Jasmine just invites. It binds to those GABA receptors naturally, coaxing the nervous system into a state of deep, restorative quiet. And it does so without the heavy, groggy residue or the cloudy mind that synthetic medications so often leave behind. Researchers have spent time observing this gentle power in clinical settings, and their findings feel like a comforting, warm validation of what our ancestors already inherently knew. In one particularly beautiful study, scientists observed the brainwaves of people who were simply resting in a quiet room, breathing in the scent of jasmine essential oil. They watched as the fragrance physically changed the participants' bodies, significantly decreasing their heart rates, lowering their blood pressure, and calming their breathing. The brainwaves on the monitors shifted, slowing down and mirroring the deep rhythmic patterns we usually only see in profound meditation. Participants reported feeling more centered, more present, and wonderfully prepared for sleep. Another study, observing those who struggle with restless, broken nights, found that the scent of jasmine in the bedroom was incredibly effective at promoting deep restorative sleep. Those who slept near a diffuser misting jasmine tossed and turned far less throughout the night. They drifted off faster, their muscles relaxed, and when the morning came, they woke up feeling brighter, their minds clear, rested, and refreshed. Isn't it wonderfully reassuring to know that such profound relief, such deep healing, can come from the simple fragrance of a blooming flower? But jasmine's tender touch extends far beyond the mind and the nervous system. When the dried flowers are infused into warm water as a delicate green tea, or when the absolute oil is massaged into tired skin, jasmine offers a wealth of protective antioxidants. These tiny, diligent compounds sweep through the bloodstream, gently soothing systematic inflammation and repairing cellular damage caused by the stresses of the day. In the digestive system, a warm, fragrant cup of jasmine tea acts as a mild, comforting antispasmodic. If you're someone who carries your stress in your stomach, if your worries twist into tight knots when you're overwhelmed, jasmine helps the smooth muscles of the digestive tract to finally unclench and let go. It's a soothing balm for an overworked heart, a gentle tonic for our blood vessels, and a deep, hydrating protector for our delicate skin. And of course, even the gentlest and most generous of friends require boundaries and respect. Before we bring any new plant into our daily healing practices, we must always honor the unique, intricate needs of our own bodies. I'm an herbalist and your host, not a doctor, so please always listen to your own body's wisdom and consult with your healthcare provider when weaving new potent herbs into your life. Jasmine is wonderfully safe for most people, especially when enjoyed in its most traditional forms, as an atmospheric aromatherapy, a delicate steeping tea, or a heavily diluted massage oil. However, because it's so deeply relaxing, and because it has a historical, stimulating affinity for the reproductive system, it's generally recommended that pregnant individuals avoid medicinal doses of jasmine, especially in the delicate first trimester. And as always, if you have sensitivities or allergies to the olive family, tread lightly and test gently. Let's step back now. Let's pull our gaze away from the bright lens of the microscope, away from the molecules, the cellular receptors, and the clinical data. Take a slow, deep breath in and let it gently out. We are back in the garden. The night air is cool and soft against your skin, and the moon is shining through the leaves. The science is beautiful, yes. It's a highly detailed map of the plant's magic, but you don't need to memorize the map to feel the deep, steady comfort of the journey. You only need to breathe and let the sweet, heavy scent of jasmine do the rest. To bring jasmine into your apothecary is to practice the gentle art of timing, the delicate art of catching a fragrance just as it wakes. We don't want to harvest jasmine in the harsh, bright light of midday. Instead, we wait for the sun to dip below the horizon, or we wake just before the dawn when the world is still washed in silver and heavy with dew. This is when the volatile oils, the very soul of the plant, are at their absolute peak. Imagine standing in the cool, quiet air, a basket resting lightly in your hands. The garden is perfectly still, wrapped in the velvety cloak of twilight. You reach out, letting your fingers brush against the delicate star-shaped petals, feeling their cool, waxy texture. With a soft pinch, you gently snap the blossoms from their vines, taking only what you need. It's a quiet ceremony, a silent, beautiful exchange of gratitude between you and the plant. Once you've gathered your blossoms, bring them indoors to dry, keeping them safe from harsh heat of the fading sun. Lay them out in a single, even layer on a drying screen or a clean, soft cotton cloth. You want to let them rest in a warm, dry place with gentle, natural airflow. Don't rush them. Allow them to slowly fold in on themselves, curling into tiny, papery pearls that hold the memory of summer nights. As they dry, they'll release a faint, sweet whisper of their perfume into the room. When they're completely crisp to the touch, carefully pour them into a clear glass jar. Keep them tucked away in a cool, dark cupboard, a jar of sleeping beauties, resting quietly until they're awakened by the warmth of water. There's a deep, quiet magic in brewing a cup of jasmine tea. The water should never be fully boiling. Boiling water will scorch the fragile petals, chasing away their sweet, delicate oils. Instead, let the water come to a rolling boil and then just let it sit. Give it a minute or two to cool, just until the steam rises in lazy swirling ribbons, soft and inviting. Pour the warm water over a small pinch of your dried jasmine flowers, perhaps just a teaspoon for a gentle evening cup. As the water touches the petals, watch as they begin to unfurl, dancing slowly in the warmth. And be sure to cover your mug with a small saucer or a wooden lid. This is an important grounding step. It traps the fragrant medicinal steam, coaxing the magic back down into the water rather than letting it escape into the air. Let it steep for just 3 to 5 minutes. Any longer and the brew may turn a little heavy or bitter. Lift the lid, close your eyes, and inhale the heady floral mist. And let that first warm sip wash over you like a deep, calming breath. If you want to bottle this twilight medicine to use throughout the long, dark winter, making a simple folk tincture is a beautiful grounding practice. Fill a small clean glass jar halfway with your dried jasmine blossoms. Pour an 80-proof vodka, watching as the clear liquid cascades over the flowers, filling the empty spaces until the jar is full to the brim. Cap it tightly and place it gently in a cool, dark place. Every few days, visit your jar and give it a gentle, rhythmic shake, a little reminder of the slow magic happening inside. After 4 to 6 weeks, strain the liquid, pressing the last drops from the spent flowers. You're left with a potent floral medicine, perfect for easing a heavy heart or quieting an anxious mind before sleep. For a softer, alcohol-free preparation, a glycerite is a wonderful alternative, especially for children or anyone who prefers a touch of gentle sweetness. The method is very much the same. Just fill your jar halfway with blossoms, but instead of alcohol, pour in a mixture of 3 parts vegetable glycerin to 1 part distilled water. It takes a little longer to extract, maybe 6 to 8 weeks, but the result is thick and sweet and deeply soothing. A few golden drops on the tongue feels exactly like a liquid lullaby. A favorite way to preserve the spirit of jasmine is in a simple honey syrup. Brew a very strong, fragrant cup of jasmine tea, using a few extra pinches of flowers and letting it steep just a bit longer than usual. While the tea is still very warm, stir in an equal amount of raw local honey. Watch as the thick golden honey melts effortlessly into the floral water, binding the scent and the sweetness together in perfect harmony. This syrup is beautiful stirred into a cup of warm milk or taken by the spoonful when you just need a moment of comfort before slipping into bed. Take your time with jasmine. Let jasmine remind you that healing doesn't have to be harsh or forced or hurried. It can be soft, slow, and beautifully sweet. I can't quite remember the first time I experienced jasmine, and somehow that feels exactly right. Jasmine has always seemed like one of those plants that quietly enters your life long before you ever learn its name. When I think back to childhood, I don't picture jasmine vines or botanical gardens. I think of perfume. I think of hugging my aunts, my grandmothers, or my mom at family gatherings and catching the soft floral fragrance they wore. It's funny how scent works. We might forget a conversation or what someone was wearing, but somehow a fragrance can stay tucked away in memory for decades, waiting patiently to be rediscovered. One of my aunts especially made such an impression on me when I was little. She was cool, capable, and confident and warm. She held so many contradictions at once. She was gentle without being fragile, strong and soft at the same time without being intimidating. She welcomed people effortlessly, but there was also something mysterious about her. Looking back, she reminds me so much of the High Priestess we talked about earlier, although if I'm being honest, there was plenty of the Empress in her too. It's funny how certain people become archetypes in our lives before we ever have language for them. Much later, after I became interested in herbs and started paying more attention to the plants growing around me, I began noticing jasmine throughout my neighborhood. And once you recognize it, you start seeing it everywhere. Eventually, when I moved into the home I live in now, I knew jasmine had to become part of my garden, not just because it's beautiful. It felt like it belonged in the story my yard was trying to tell. Gardens feel a little bit like storytelling to me. Every plant contributes something different to the atmosphere. Sage offers protection, lavender brings care, basil overflows with abundance, jasmine brings magic. Now, my first couple attempts at growing it weren't exactly successful. I didn't give it enough sunlight. I definitely didn't give it enough water. The jasmine politely declined my invitation. But several years later, after learning a little more about what it needed, I finally planted a vine on an archway in the yard, and tonight it's thriving. One of my favorite moments happens almost every summer evening. I'll step outside after the sun has gone down, and before I even reach the garden, I'm greeted by this incredible wall of fragrance. It's lush, comforting, sweet without becoming overwhelming. The flowers themselves are very small, but their perfume fills the entire space. It's almost impossible to not stop for a moment and simply breathe. I also love hosting people at my house. And one of my favorite little thoughts is imagining my guests walking up the front path toward the door. Before we've hugged, before dinner is served, before the conversation even begins, they're welcomed by jasmine. I love that one of the very first memories of an evening together might just be the scent of flowers carried through the warm summer air. Jasmine has found its way into my life in other forms too. A year or so ago, I picked up a beautiful bag of jasmine green tea at a farmer's market. The first few cups, well, let's just say I learned very quickly that green tea does not appreciate being oversteeped. It was very bitter, and I eventually learned to slow down. Slightly cooler water and a much shorter steep. And then everything changed, and it's now one of my favorite specialties. Soft, floral, almost ethereal. One of my favorite daily rituals has become lighting a jasmine and santal candle in my home. And speaking of scent and memory, I burned this particular candle constantly during a season of dreaming, a season of blue sky brainstorming and planning for the future, sketching lofty ideas into notebooks and on whiteboards, and plotting out what my life might become. Now, whenever I light that same candle, something remarkable happens. I'm transported back to there almost instantly. Not just to the memories, to the feeling, the excitement, the sense of possibility. It amazes me how powerfully scent is tied to memory. A fragrance can become a doorway through time. Lately, I've noticed the same thing happening with perfume. One of my favorite perfumers created a fragrance centered around jasmine, and without even thinking about it, I find myself reaching for it again and again. And maybe that's always been jasmine's gift. It doesn't ask to be the center of attention. It simply lingers. In the evening air, in old memories, in the people we love, and in the quiet moments that somehow stay with us for the rest of our lives. So, let's open up the apothecary cabinet and see how this fragrant night bloomer can support your mind, body, and spirit. Jasmine is the nervous system soother. It's a gentle but profound nervine. When you inhale its sweet scent, it interacts directly with the brain's limbic system, signaling your body to release stored tension. It acts as a soft balm for frayed nerves, bringing a profound sense of calm to a rushing, anxious mind, slowing your pulse and telling your body that it's safe to rest. Jasmine is the sleep weaver. While it doesn't force you into a heavy, groggy slumber, jasmine elegantly sets the stage for a deeply restorative rest. By lowering your heart rate and easing physical restlessness, It invites a natural, peaceful sleep. It's the perfect, gentle companion for those nights when your mind is spinning, softly rocking you into the dream world. Jasmine is the heart opener. In ancient herbal traditions, jasmine is known to uplift the spirit and warm the emotional center. It has long been used as a mild aphrodisiac and a natural mood elevator. When you feel emotionally closed off or heavy with sorrow, jasmine softly encourages the heart to open, reminding you of joy, sensuality, and lightness. This week, I invite you to find a quiet moment for jasmine. Maybe you seek out some jasmine pearls and brew a single fragrant cup before bed, taking the time to simply watch the steam rise and curl into the dark. Or maybe you press a drop of jasmine essential oil into your pulse points, carrying its sweet, protective warmth with you as a secret shield throughout your day. If you're looking for jasmine to invite into your own evening rituals, you can find links to my personal favorites in the show notes below. You'll also find the full bibliography for tonight's episode for those of you who want to drift further into the science and folklore of this starlit flower. Until next time, keep your roots deep and your leaves reaching for the sun. Stay wild and stay well.